You are now into Film Code.
I see, Nate. You're fond of me lobster.
Molly, you in danger, girl.
Your ass looks like about 150 pounds of chewed bubble gum, Kyle. You know that? Say it, sir! I don't believe you people.
What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?
Huh? Now answer my question. Were you rushing or were you dragging?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Film Code. My name is Phoenix Clouden, and I'm joined by the two greatest co-hosts in the world. Of course, starting with our man, Zach Sneef. Zach, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Phoenix. I'm excited to talk about this. Maybe it feels like we've been waiting for it for quite a while, so I'm excited to finally be able to talk about it.
We've only been waiting 13 years. It's fine. And also joining us today, still, I redid the math, still at the top of the leaderboard, but just barely.
By how much?
One. By literally 1 point. Yeah.
Wow.
Brandon, what's going on, sir?
Man, I'm good. It is good to be back. It's crazy how much just of a next few weeks we're gonna have movie wise. So we had Avatar this past weekend, which we're about to review. We got Babylon. We have what else do we have coming out? Like, I feel like I've just been getting excited for movies, but that should just be all the trailers.
Talking.
Oh yeah. Like, I went to the movies and saw 3 movies yesterday, and I still am like, I'm like still 20 movies behind. Like,
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But yeah, no, it's crazy to think just how many movies we have left, like, to cover. But I was like, man, I can't wait for all these movies coming out. But it's just gonna be is all we have is just all those trailers we got during Avatar, but they're all for summer releases. That's what I'm getting myself excited about.
Right.
But yeah, no, but that being said, it is good to be back, and it's good to be back talking more movies with you guys. And yeah, how are you doing, Phoenix?
And I'm good. I'm really good, especially because I got out late. I don't know why I did this. I went to see Avatar after work Thursday, and I didn't get out of work till like 9:30, and the last showing was at like 11:10. And it wasn't until I got there that I realized that I remembered that Avatar is a 3-hour movie. And I was just like, oh no, like, I'm gonna be here till the sun comes up. Like, this is awful. So I had a long night, and thank goodness, like, the next day I was able to sleep in. But yeah, fun times. Anyway, like I said, we've been waiting on this movie for about 13 years. The original dropped in 2009, I believe. The anticipation for the sequel, I would say, was middling at first, and then it slowly creeped up, especially as word got out, like, no, this is pretty good. By the time I got into the theater, I was insanely hyped. I was like overhyped, like, oh my God, Avatar might be this thing, right? And I tried to temper that because I'm like, anything could happen. You don't want to be too high, and then, it disappoints. Well, I'm so glad it didn't disappoint. Oh, am I so glad it didn't disappoint. Avatar: The Way of Water is exquisite. I mean, absolutely exquisite. And I've read a couple of the reviews since, and even some of the good reviews are like, the story isn't as strong, the characters aren't as strong. And I'm reading those and I'm going, the hell are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, there's some similar things to the first one, but I'm like, the story and the characters, it's 3 hours long. It'd be ridiculous to assume that there's no story or thin characters in a movie that long. That would be awful. I'm like, but we don't have that. We have new characters who are introduced. We spend a lot of time with those characters, and it's awesome. Like it's an incredible story. But anyway, this is one area I wanted to address right off the bat. But I love this. Like I had 100% a blast with this movie. Brandon, what about you? What was your initial thoughts?
Yeah, man. Like for me, I really enjoyed it. Like a lot of the criticisms I see, like they're like, "Oh, this isn't as good as the first." Personally, for me, I think this is just a tad bit better than the first because I feel like the story of the first one just feels like a typical movie of, oh hey, yeah, I'm a sponge out of water with these people. They're gonna bring me in. I'm gonna fall in love with one of them, and I'm gonna want to become a Navi. And just like you have that story with a lot of other films, so this was able to branch out, start continuing to build the world more. It just, man, like James Cameron should never stop world building with this universe. Like yeah, we got to see more Pandora, but there's so much more of Pandora we can see over time. I'm really hoping we get more of that in the next few sequels, man. But this was fantastic.
Zach, what about you, man?
Yeah, I went in just hoping it was going to be a little. I was hoping it would be a little better than the first, and I also felt like it slightly was better than the first. I mean, there was just so much that went into it, and the whole time, like, I mean, there wasn't really a moment where I personally felt like I was like, oh, I'm bored, you know, like they just kept it interesting the entire time, you know, from the very beginning of the movie to the end. I was like, and I know Brandon, I went to the theater with him and his friend Jeremy.
Jeremy, yeah.
We went, and you know, Jeremy said he felt like it was kind of a chore, and I know Brandon felt a little bit of the same, but for me, like, I didn't feel like that at all. Like, I was just like, man, I want more of this. Like, I wanted there to be more. Like, I really enjoyed it that much. Where I didn't feel like 3 hours long was wasted. So I really did enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, no, I don't think 3 hours was wasted at all. I still agree that it was a chore to get through because of just how long it was, but at the same time, like, it was really great.
Yeah, that's sort of where I was at, where like, especially towards the middle of the movie, I was like, it's like, okay, man, we're lingering here for a really long time and not much has happened. I was like, this seems, you know, oddly paced, but like towards once it got like done with it, I was just like, no, that was perfect. Like, it's perfect. It was perfectly paced, and the story it tells, I think, is very good for this movie in particular because we're getting so many new characters. We're on a different part of the world than we were in the previous film, so there's so much to dive into, and no pun intended, the way of water. But like, there's so much to dive into and so much of the mythology to explore. That, like, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if like the reason that we're getting 5 Avatar movies is just because there's so much in this world to go into. But yeah, like I was iffy on the pacing, but again, like I said, it turned out so working so well because there's just so many elements that got to be explored and brought about, and the action service the film, I think, a great deal. Like, there was some incredible action sequences in this movie.
I love the payoff for every scene. Like you would think just one of those scenes would be like, oh hey, yeah, this will be used just to fill time. No, the scene's there to exist, and then have some kind of payoff later in the film of, oh yeah, we showed this scene to explain this scene better later on in the film. Yeah. Are you guys excited for Avatar 6 where the Na'vi meet the Smurfs?
You know what? Why not? Bring it on.
You guys heard about Avatar 3 though, right? What James Cameron is wanting to do?
No.
No.
He wants to hand a 9-hour cut into Disney, fully like all the CGI and visual effects done, and then have them cut it down then.
The balls on James Cameron, man. Go for it, bro.
That's so many man hours of just visual effects.
Oh man, yeah, they won't do that, but go for it. Totally do it.
That film wouldn't come out until like 2030.
That's it's a good thing it's already shot. So yeah, but overall, man, like I said, I loved it. I agree with you guys. I do think it's better than the first one. And like just a little bit, but it's like a little bit in every area. Like I think the characters are a little bit better. I think the story is a little bit better. I think the visuals are a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I'm like everything got just enough of an upgrade for me in this movie. All right. So let's go ahead and break the seal and talk spoilers.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
For Avatar: The Way of Water. If you have not seen it yet, please do so. It's only 3 hours. You'll be fine. All right. So we are now officially talking spoilers for Avatar: The Way of Water. Brandon, kick us off with your spoiler thoughts.
I really think I you know what's funny is like when they go to the new area of the new tribe, I'm like, oh my god, I get it now. They're gonna teach them the way of water. Because there's the way of the forest and now there's the way of water.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like we were talking about, like I was mentioning earlier about how many just so many scenes that are there and they have payoff, and some will still have an eventual payoff of just like when Sigourney Weaver's daughter in the film has that seizure, and they're like, if she does this again, it could kill her. That's set up for a sequel. I am willing to bet you that's gonna have some kind of payoff. You have the stuff with all the time that the son spends time with the whale. That has a huge payoff to the film.
Mm-hmm.
And like even explaining the backstory of him, about how everyone's like, oh my god, he's a killer, you know?
Yeah.
But clearly that isn't the case. But it also is.
But it kind of is, yeah.
It kind of is. That guy was raising hell. And I'm glad. Like the only time people clapped at my theater for the whale was when he took that guy's arm off.
Oh yeah.
That was wild. I'm like, no way they just did that.
That's another thing.
That was awesome.
Like I will say, okay, like, yeah, so we're talking spoilers. When we come back and we realize that the humans are now turned into Na'vi, but there's they have their human memory or whatever. I was impressed with that way that they went with it, because in that sense it was very cool, because it was like, okay, now that we have, because the human characters, their motivation in the first movie completely understood, their motivation in this movie completely understood, but at the same time I'm like, they've somehow made me hate these guys even more. like I'm just like, they made, and like their motivation this time is specifically evil. Like it is specifically evil. They're like, no subterfuge about it. Like they are going in to kill Jake and his family. They want to take over this planet, and they're doing some of the most heinous things that they could possibly do in order to make that happen. And like, yes, it's a little on the nose, but at the same time I'm like, it kind of has to be, because these guys are not good. Like they're not the good guys. They don't even think they're the good guys. Like they are trying to do some of the worst things possible, and they seem very comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, I was just like, so by the time it got to the point where the whale whips off that guy's arm, like, yeah.
It had so much symbolism to it.
Yeah, I was like, the cheering, I get. Like, I celebrated that internally. definitely. But like, I was like, yeah, no, like, I've never wanted human characters to die so much until this movie. Oh my, they were complete POSs, but that's just me.
What are you guys' thoughts on them bringing Colonel Quaritch back?
Great decision. I thought it was a great decision. And Stephen Lang, I mean, come on, like, dude's amazing. And like him as a Navi, that was just impressive. The way that he was able to embody that character, and no wonder it took so long with visual effects because you pretty much had everybody in Navi. Yeah, I think like actually, yeah, I think we don't really get human like full human characters until oh no, we get the general. I can't remember her name.
And we also get Miles.
And Miles, yeah, like and Spider, technically. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, I could see it. But like mostly in terms of their involvement, they don't really come into the play until like the third act. So it's a lot of visual effects up until that point. Like literally like 98% of the movie is visual effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like but also dislike how they brought him back. Like the way they do it is perfect. They back up his DNA. Cool. For me, I hope I'm glad they didn't Rise of Skywalker with Palpatine. Just be like somehow Palpatine returned, somehow Quaritch returned. No, it made sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense.
So, yeah.
My only thing I would say is I kind of wish like we saw some more interactions with like his SEAL team. Like I feel like I didn't know a lot about their characters. Besides that they're like heads.
Oh yeah, no, they were throwaway characters because some of them died fairly quickly.
I mean I was laughing at some of it because like especially the beginning when then with the first guy where he just kept saying hoorah. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, like actually I agree with that. Like because I felt like they were bigger players in the first film. And like if these movies had come out, within a few years of each other, then I think that characterization of them being sort of throwaways works because at least the first film is fresh in your mind. But we haven't seen these guys in 13 years. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't remember their characters who played them, none of that. So I was like, yeah, like I probably would have enjoyed a little bit more interaction with those guys because it felt very much like just what do they call them? Not they felt like I guess throwaways. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Like they felt like throwaway characters because they're just there, right? They're there to cause chaos and do damage, but like we don't really know anything about them.
They were there to help the bully.
Yeah, pretty much.
I need you guys' thoughts on I know people have complaints about this, but it was literally 2 minutes out of the movie. I need you guys' thoughts on the son who was the bully.
Oh, the chief's son?
Yeah, the chief's son with Sully's son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, because I mean, it was literally 2 minutes out of the film. Like everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's the most basic thing." It was 2 minutes out of a film to help introduce him to the whale. I mean, I'm saying, sorry.
Well, here's the thing, right? Is like, yes, like I understand that complaint, but at the same time, like you're trying to make an alien movie more relatable to humans, and so although it's very basic, maybe to some people, like he's basically what they're trying to express is that like these are like people, like they have human qualities and they're not above them, like they're just like humans, right? In a way, just with a little bit different way of life, but ultimately like these things still happen on places like this even.
Yeah,
I feel like it took up a couple minutes of the movie. It wasn't that big a deal, but all they're trying to show like a human side of these characters, like that even they have these human qualities, right? And it just, I feel like, makes it a lot more relatable to the audience, right? If you see that, oh yeah, they're just like us in like these ways, and the way they go about certain things, like they're not above that, like they still have tendencies that are very human. So I think it worked fine.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think it was a nice element. Like, one, because it did serve the story. Like you said, if they don't have that moment, how does he meet, the Tokun that, eventually saves his life? So there's a story tie in to that moment. And also, even though it was bullying, what I'm saying, it led to them eventually coming together as friends and building that bond where they felt, safe enough to remain in that culture. I dug it. Like, I really didn't have a problem with it. And I love that they showed, like, hey, yes, these are advanced beings of a different planet or whatever. They're not quite human. But they still share sort of qualities different about each other, because like you notice, like the Navi and these people, I don't remember what they were called, but like they have a different shade of color. The mother, she mentions like their arms are thin and their tails are too light. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they're similar technically, to each other, but there are degrees of differences between them, and like those differences matter. And I think that's, the thing about James Cameron is his allegories are fairly simple, but there's just the way that he uses them that I think is just really clever. And he's got so much style and substance behind it that just really elevates what he's doing. And you see that in a lot of his films where it's like, oh, okay, I see the simple basic outline of this story. But when you put all of this on top of it, it just strengthens that entire concept, and it works. So to me, I feel like that was he's the expert at that.
Yeah. And what's funny is like he was able to blend Titanic into this somehow.
Yeah, I saw that.
Literally, like every time the water was rushing through like a room or something, when the ship was going down, I always thought of Titanic.
There was a lot of elements of that there, and they were present too, and you could see them. And
yeah,
but yeah, I thought everything that this movie did was really intentional and really good, man. I dug it. And like I spoke earlier about like how some things were elevated from the first film. The one thing I have to talk about is the characters themselves. Like Jake Sully and Neytiri, so much stronger. like so much stronger as characters in this movie than I think they were in the first film. I mean,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm like, first off, you give them a family that they have to fight for, and just their principles and the things that they care about, and the interactions that they have with their family, each different member of their family. I think it just made those characters soar. Like they were just so much stronger that way. Like you have the two brothers, you got the one older brother who's trying to look out for his little brother, but his little brother's mischievous and keeps going off and doing other stuff and causing problems. And like just how they respond to the father and the relationship that he had with the oldest, and how he wanted to make sure he, was strong and followed in his footsteps and was, really, wise. And you see that love, especially in the end, when he passes. Like there was so much complexity in that relationship, and then you have the younger brother who's essentially the cause of his brother's death. That essentially what he is. And like, but that love is still there, and that family dynamic is still there. And like Neytiri was always a badass, but she goes from like level of badassery to like just 10 points higher in this movie because like she kills a lot of people. She kills so many people in this movie, and I think
She's like, bro. She in Call of Duty terms, they call like when a weapon's overpowered, they call it a meta. She found her meta with the bow and arrow.
man, and I love it, man. I think it's hilarious too the visual dynamic because the Na'vi are so much bigger than the humans are, and like when you see like the contrast, like that bow and arrow she uses, it looks normal when she uses it, and then when you see it go through a human, you realize, oh man, it's like 10 times their size.
Yeah,
like just the arrow alone. So I thought again, like the visuals are insane in this movie. But yeah, Natiri, I think, got such a boost as a character in this film and just so much more of a badass.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed her character throughout the entire thing. I
Yeah.
thought she had so many cool scenes.
Yeah, man, I dug her a great deal. like she was really, really cool. Let's talk about the kids though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's talk. There's a lot to talk about there. They had a good amount in the movie, actually.
Yeah, they were a huge chunk of the movie, which I thought was surprising. Like, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
then again, it makes sense because of where this story goes. So yeah, I dug it.
Yeah, I have a feeling that with how much screen time we've had of the kids, I think something is going to happen to them in future installments. I think somehow, some way, we're going to lose Jake Sully. I feel like that's going to be a necessity and a necessary part of the film at some point, especially if the Colonel is still chasing after him. You know?
I don't know. I think if we do, it'll either happen in the next one or it won't happen till like the last one.
I agree there.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because apparently what they're working on for the fifth one is where they go back to Earth. I can just imagine Na'vi showing up on Earth.
I'm excited for that. Okay, that's gonna be interesting.
I want to see his version of Earth and how it's being destroyed.
Yeah, because they mentioned in this movie that they're looking for a new planet, which is why they're trying to, erase everyone on Pandora, is because they need the planet. Yeah, so that will be interesting to see how they incorporate that. But anyway, back to the kids, because we kind of glossed over that. Sigourney Weaver's character, which again blows my mind. When you talk about visual effects, you have Sigourney Weaver playing a teenage version of herself, which I think is just outstanding. Like how they were able to pull that off is incredible. Not just, physically, but also vocally, and what I'm saying, and physically. There's so many elements to that that's mind-boggling. But
I still want to know who she hit it with in the first one.
Yeah, that answer never came to pass, unfortunately. We never learned how she was able to have her daughter. But yeah, like that character I thought was very interesting, and like we got a little bit of it, but I feel like her story was kind of put on the back burner for the boy story, which I get because it fit into this story a little bit more. But I wanted to learn more about that character because she was very fascinating, and I think we'll learn more about her in the films to come.
Yeah, I definitely. Like especially because they're doing the whole thing with the like I mentioned earlier, with like her having the seizure. Like she was able to plug in just fine with other creatures. It was just something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future installments with that.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Zach. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. No, I really liked the kids in this movie. Like they weren't like overly annoying to me. Like a lot of things they did made
Yeah.
sense. I also like the family dynamic that they had going too the whole time, like slowly stick together, you know, and like no matter like the older brother like would always be sticking up for like the younger one whenever he screwed up.
Mhm.
And I thought that was like a really good dynamic. I really did enjoy that. Especially being like an older brother. Like my brother is like the good one though, so it's more likely me to be the one getting in trouble.
Nice.
But like yeah, no, I get it. I I really like the part where they're fighting the Chiefs kids and he goes, "What the other guys look like?"
He's a lot
He's like
worse.
worse. He's like good.
Hey, that's right. That's spot on. Like you get to a fight, just make sure you know what I'm saying. You get the good end of it. Uh, no, but man,
Yeah.
yeah, like I dug the kids, especially the little one. I can't even remember her name now. Uh, but like the youngest girl, I thought she was absolutely adorable.
How did they
Like,
get tied up again?
right, exactly. She was so cute. She was like unbelievably cute. Like, but like I love what you said, Zach. Like none of the kids were annoying, which is like so hard to do apparently in today's
Yeah.
age. Like, because we've seen some child actors just this year alone where I'm like,
Moonfall
oh,
Kid.
oh man, like throw this kid off a bridge. Like seriously, like wow, they're terrible. Like, but yeah, they're like none of the kids were annoying. They all had interesting character arcs. Um, I think they were the heart of much of this story. They strengthened our two main characters a great deal. Um, yeah, and it was just an impressive dynamic. I really just love the way that they went with this story in particular.
Yeah.
Ooh, excuse me.
And, what's crazy to me though is just like I've even seen complaints about the time jump. That time jump is beautiful. They explained it so well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 13 years, guys.
Yeah.
It's been 13 years. Like, yeah, man. Like, they had a family. Like, yeah. Like,
I can't believe there were complaints about that.
Dude, people complain about everything nowadays.
like honestly, I went through some of the
Like to me, that is
reviews.
like the entire movie is such a hard movie to complain about.
Yeah.
Like I really like the things I've said so far are like nitpicks. Like
Yeah.
I like I'm not gonna like go off on them for doing. There's nothing I in that movie that would set me off on what they did. Like
Right. Like it's so funny.
I didn't have that issue with this movie at all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was going through some of the reviews and I'm just reading and I'm like the ones that are bad and I'm just like, what movie did you see? Like I'm like, because all of them basically had that element that Zach is talking about, where it's like you took one or two negative things and you're like, this is the whole movie, and I'm like,
People do it all the time.
like I'm like, it's definitely a reach in my opinion. Like I'm like, you're reaching. Like I'm not saying you gotta love it, but I think the things that you are trying to find to be bad about it, I think is a bit of a stretch, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Uh, the one thing I do want to talk about, going back to Cameron and his the way that he uses simplistic messaging for these films, there's a deep and almost surface level, really. It's surface level, but it is also kind of deep allegory that he makes about in the environment and man's place in the environment and what we're doing to the environment. Like constantly, like when we see the humans come back to Pandora, like they come in these ships and they immediately burn the forest. You know what I'm saying? Well, like it's like, come on, like you know what I'm saying? Like you burn the forest, and then later we see what man does to animals. You know what I'm saying? How they kill the Tuku, the Tuku,
The way, yeah, I was, yeah, I think it's the Tokun or something.
Tokun, yeah, yeah.
Tokun.
We see how they do that and
They
what
literally just poach them.
right, and what they do it for, right? And it's like, I mean, you tell me I can make $80 million off of stealing like the cerebrum of a giant mammal. I'll be like, okay. I'm like, I mean, I don't like that aspect of it, ruining, this gorgeous creature and all of that. But at the same time, I'm like, $80 million? No, okay. like,
and it keeps you young forever.
Right.
That's what the product is.
Yeah. It's like, ooh.
It's like anti-aging. Yeah.
Right. It's like there's some benefits there. I'm like, but yeah, man. Like, and it's interesting too, because like I love how he explores that concept of consumerism and capitalism versus the environment and nature and protecting things.
Yeah, I think for that scene, I think it wasn't just you, Phoenix. I feel like a lot of people were questioning themselves.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of person am I? Would I go for the 80 million, or would I say the animal?
Right.
That's like a question someone asks you, right? Would you if you well for $80 million? My answer for me is absolutely yes.
PETA, if you're watching this, please do not cancel us.
So
oh my god. No, I mean, I get it. Like, it is a I think it's a great way of looking at your audience and saying, like, we live in a capitalist consumerist society, right? So of course, we're in a world where money is power. And so like if you tell us, hey, you can get $80 million and destroy something that, you don't have a connection to, I'm like, many of us will jump at that. But like if we were placed in that society where that animal means a great deal to us, you know what I'm saying? We don't see that other side of it. We don't see the consumer side of it. And it's interesting because now you've, as an audience member, you've been put right in between both of these stories. And you're like, now I don't know where I should go. Because it's like, and I hope as we get on with more of these sequels, we do go back to Earth and see like, hey, maybe there's a reason for them doing this, and it might be justified, even if they're doing it the wrong way. Like, it might be justified, and I would love to see where we all land on that. But yeah, I think that allegory is, like I said, it's very in your face. He does it in a very simplistic way throughout much of the film, but I think it's a very deeply personal question that I think anyone who's watching it is like, that's a tough position to be put in. Like, yeah. So I don't know. I just thought it was really well done.
It's not a very tough position for me. Give me the 80 mil. I'm happy. One whale, fine.
One whale.
Oh, like now, one whale.
One whale, you're set for life.
Right, really. Like if I only have to do it once, like, all right, like 80 mil one time, okay. But like if you're like, oh, I got orders and I gotta
get
like, nah.
Phoenix would be out there in his water
times, shoes. That's questionable.
Yeah.
Phoenix would be out there in his water shoes, ready to go. Come on, guys, let's do this. Let's kill a whale.
Just one time. Just one time. We all get our payday. We all go home. Like, that's it.
Oh my.
Oh man, we're
just...
I feel bad.
I know, right? Oh, I feel just a little bit dirty. Oh man, but at least we were able to admit that to ourselves. Yeah, we probably kill at least one Tokun.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, sorry guys. Like, um,
I would just make sure to GTFO before they find you.
yeah, you really want to get out of Dodge. Like, oh man. So, any other thoughts, by the way? Like, I do want to speak on the action because, like,
Oh yeah, we glanced right over that.
yeah, we kind of got over on that. There's I would say there's less action in this movie than there was in the first one. Do you agree or no?
I agree in a sense of they saved it all because like in how it worked in the previous one was they had a lot of different scenes, like they had multiple battle scenes.
Right.
And this one just all meshed into one, which I was happy about because they gave us more time to just spend world building.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as a sequel, that's what we needed. More world building to an already developed world, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
World building and character development is what we needed.
Yeah. Especially after a 13 year absence.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like building up the characters, building up the world, expanding that world. I feel like that was definitely interesting. That was well worth it. But when we did get the action, and I think that's part of the reason why the action worked, is because we had built up these characters and we knew what they were fighting for and how much it mattered to them. And that final action sequence, man, put it up there with some of the best of the year. like legit. It was exciting, it was thrilling, it was emotional.
Yeah.
Very well choreographed. I dug it. Like, really dug it. And I'm not even like talking about like the final part of it. Even in the beginning, like, you know what I'm saying, when you got Natiri just being a badass, like just completely full on badass. Like, I loved it. Just the way they took out, you know, the gunneries and it was sweet. And the flying sequences, all dope. The underwater sequences, fantastic. Like, this was a visual feast for the eyes. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, I love the scene when the colonel was trying to get a banshee. He just goes up there and decks it in the face.
The what?
When the colonel was trying to get a banshee.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and he just goes up to fight it and he just decks it right in the face.
Right, yeah.
I'd be dying.
That was an interesting moment, but I dug it.
I also liked at the end how you could clearly see how conflicted Spider was saving his father, but like at the same time, like it's still his father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know, I really liked that as well. I thought that was great.
Would you have saved him?
Oh no. No. And I kind of
I don't know, man. Like,
I kind of get that choice. Like, I kind of get it only because it was his son. I feel like everybody else would have let him rock. But like, there's some level of an emotional connection that they have, and he had to respect that enough to let him go. But I mean, me personally, I don't know. I don't think I would have. I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think you should have did that. Like,
the thing is, that whole scenario, right, is like, yeah, like he's like, the colonel is a horrible person, right? But he's shown his son the softer side of him, and he's been softer on his son. And although he's an evil guy, like, you could tell, like, he does want that connection. I think the son recognizes that. It's like, yeah, okay, he's a horrible, he's still my father.
So Zach, what is your, actually, let me go to Brandon first. Brandon, what is your final rating for Avatar: The Way of Water?
I'm gonna have to go with a solid 4.5. I think that's a solid rating for it. I gave the first one that, and it's definitely better than the first. And I'm excited to see what James Cameron continues to do with this world and this series.
Yeah. Zach, what about you? What are you going?
I'm gonna go with 5 stars. I really enjoyed this movie, and I wouldn't change a thing about it.
Solid. I'm gonna ride that 4.5 as well. Like I said, I think it's just a little bit better than the first Avatar. But it's just a little bit better in every single area. Um, I dug the story. I think I really love this movie more than the first one. The visuals are outstanding. What they're able to do with the family, I can't get enough of it. I really love this movie. Like really, really did. It's long. Like if I have any complaint, really, is that it's really probably 20 minutes too long. But at the same time, I'm like, everything kind of works. There's so many interesting elements to it. I love what James Cameron says about so many aspects of humanity throughout the film. So yeah, solid 4.5. I literally can't wait to see it again. I think it's that amazing. So 4.5 for me and Brandon, 5 stars from Zach. What did you guys think of Avatar: The Way of Water? Let us know on Twitter and Instagram at Film Code Pod and leave your thoughts there. All right. So we're gonna move on to what's good.
What's good? What's good? What's good?
Zach, before we lose you again, why don't you kick us off? What has been good for you this week, sir?
Actually, I haven't really watched anything too new this week. But I will say I did start watching the Wednesday show,
Yeah.
and I've enjoyed that so far. I think Jenna Ortega's awesome.
Mm.
So I mean, I haven't finished it, but so far I've really enjoyed that show. The dark humor it has. So I would say check out Wednesday if you haven't, because I think everyone's checking it out. So
Wednesday's awesome. Brandon, what about you?
I actually got to watch a few movies this week, but I was gonna say Die Hard, but I finally got to watch Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners. That movie was a banger, man.
Yes.
That was a solid 4.5 star movie. My friend Trevor has been like begging me to watch it, so I'm like, I was literally gonna go on Netflix to watch Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, but I'm like, you know what? Prisoners is right here. Let me watch Prisoners, and I'm glad I did, man. That movie was fantastic.
Excellent. I'm glad you finally got around to that. Yeah, that's a banger. That's probably my favorite from Denis Villeneuve. Yeah, it's probably Prisoners. So I went to the movies yesterday. I saw 3 films, just trying to catch up for before the end of the year. I had a great time at the movies. All 3 of the movies that I saw were great, but one definitely stood out among the bunch, and I think was my favorite of the 3 that I saw. And that is a movie called Spoiler Alert, starring Jim Parsons. It was fantastic. You guys, if you've listened to previous episodes, you know that one of my most hated movies of the year this year was Bros. I thought that movie was absolutely awful. This is by far and away a better version of that movie. By far and away. It's funnier, despite it being a drama. It's much funnier than Bros was. It's way more emotional, way more dramatic, better written, like better acted. Everything about it, I just genuinely loved. It was such a good movie, such a good story. So for me, that's one I would highly recommend. It's in theaters right now. I think it is limited theaters. I'm not 100% sure, but I would definitely recommend that. Spoiler alert, fantastic movie. based on a book. So it is actually based on a true story. But yeah, spoiler alert from me, Wednesday from Zach, and Prisoners from Brandon. An incredible lineup. You can't pass that up. So check those out and let us know what you guys think. All right, it's now that time.
You are now entering film code.
Please still with us. Zach, it was your code word this week. Remind everyone what your code word was and all of your clues, sir. Whenever we can get back to them. Oh man.
I don't know if my sound is picking up, but I have a cricket sound effect playing.
Oh man. I gotta say, the reason we're laughing is because we discussed earlier before we started recording about Zach's internet service provider. And they are proving to be quite the hassle. They have gone in and out several times throughout the show. There he is. Zach.
Hey, can you guys see me now?
We can hear you now.
There we go.
You're not frozen.
Oh my gosh. I hate I'm about to call my Wi-Fi after this, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be so nice about it.
All right. Well, Zach, before you do that, can you remind us what your code word was and all of your clues, sir?
Yeah, it was, so my code word was identity. It was between 1990 and 2000 this movie was released, and it has an actor that starred in over 40 plus movies and TV shows, an icon, direct. Is best known for this movie, but had at least 3 Academy nods for a movie last year.
Okay. All right. Technically, I guess that means I go first.
You do.
All right. So I did some digging. And I found a director who did a movie last year that was nominated for exactly 3 awards. And that is Joel Cohen, who directed The Tragedy of Macbeth. He was nominated for production design, cinematography, and best lead actor for Denzel Washington. He did a couple of movies, usually with his brother, throughout the years. One of which took place in 1998, I want to say. 1998. And stars John Goodman, who has been a legendary performer throughout much of his life. He's been in a couple of iconic films. He's also obviously the co-lead of a very popular TV show. So I would consider him an American icon. And that movie is The Big Lebowski. That is my pick for the code word this week. Not sure what it has to do with identity. Still haven't seen it yet, but that is my pick for the code word. All right.
I'm going to go elsewhere with a different director. I'm going to go with good old Mr. Steven Spielberg. And it's been a toss-up between Schindler's List or Saving Private Ryan. Because both, Saving Private Ryan has a part of it where there is identity of, hey, they identify the wrong person as Private Ryan and he's dead. Sorry. I just sneezed.
Bless
and
you.
then thank you. And then there's the other film, Schindler's List, where you're identified as a Jew and you're tossed in a concentration camp. So this is what it's very tough for, because both have legendary actors in it. one being Liam Neeson, the other being Tom Hanks. However, Tom Hanks is in many different movies and TV, so I think we're going to have to go with Saving Private Ryan. And his film that he got a lot of Oscar noms for was, are we talking about this year or like this year's Oscar noms?
This last year.
This last year.
Okay. All right, then yeah. Then he had a lot of nominations for West Side Story. So I'm going to have to go with Saving Private Ryan. Tell me I'm wrong.
So
you can tell me I'm right. Yes.
The winner of this is actually going to be Phoenix.
Oh!
So Phoenix had it on the money. So The Big Lebowski, the whole movie is about Jeff Lebowski, the dude, being mistaken for Jeffrey Lebowski. So that's the identity issue right there.
I should have known because Ryan loves that movie.
Yep. And on top of that, it has Sam Elliott, who is an American icon in that movie. And the movie that the director had some nominations for was The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Yeah. Oh, that boy's nice. That boy's nice. I told you.
Don't worry. We got a 2-week break to it's my code word next, so I got 2 weeks to figure something out.
And he takes the lead. Oh, it was so sweet. How did you enjoy your time atop the leaderboard, Brandon? Was it nice? It was nice, wasn't it?
Don't worry, I'm coming back. I'm taking it back. Don't worry.
It was nice. It was lovely. It's a shame it had to come to an end. But once again, reclaiming my place on top of the leaderboard. Oh, we knew it would happen soon, didn't we? Yes, ladies and gentlemen. That feels good. That was good. I'm amazed I actually got that one. That was
I'm
impressive.
actually surprised you got that too. So
Nice. And it's funny too, because like look what I got.
oh.
Is that a bookmark?
Yeah, I got it from the library. But like, yeah, I'm like, I still haven't watched it though. But I was like, oh, that kind of fits. So let's go with that. But yeah, that's awesome.
That's hilarious that you have that.
Nice.
That's great.
That was good. Well, we're gonna get up out of here because I need to go celebrate my victory. Brandon, let everybody know where they can find you crying about your loss.
You guys can find me as the eventual winner of the season at FANTASMIC ears over on Letterboxd. Go check out what I'm watching. And yeah, thank you guys again for listening.
And Zach, where can everybody find you, sir? After you're done,
you guys can find me on Twitter at Zach Sneath. That is ZACHSNEATH. And you guys can find me on Letterboxd at ZSneaks.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at IamHOReviews1. That's the number 1. And on Letterboxd under PA Clouden. And as always, guys, please follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at FilmCoPod. And we will see you guys next week. We are out of here.